What's up, dorks? Nope is Jordan Peele's third horror mystery that takes a step into the sci fi realm, and we're going to get into a little bit of spoiler discussion in this review with some standout performances from Daniel Kaluuya and Kiki Palmer. I believe Jordan Peele has a third hit on his hands.
I've seen this movie twice now. And the first time I loved it. The second time, I can't say that I enjoyed it more, but it felt like the first time taught me how to watch the movie. People anticipate like this intricately weaving plot line full of all the social commentary and all these things to dissect and analyze. But when I went into it for the second time, I felt while there's a lot to be taken from the movie, I think the point is to be in awe. Not scary, because there's definitely some scary moments, but not scary. But that feeling of something being creepy and you don't necessarily know why. I think when you go into it with open expectations, not expecting this brain fuck of a movie, that everybody kind of wants from Jordan Peele, understandably so, by the way. I think you walk away with a really, really cool love letter to cinema, a love letter to some of his favorite movies, I believe. Like, there's a lot of E.T. in there, there's a lot of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. When you view it as that and you watch it as that, I think you're going to have a really, really good time at the movies, which I think was the point.
What I think is done really well in this movie, it builds a lot of suspense at the top of the movie. It introduces you to the characters, it makes you understand where they're all coming from and where they stand with each other, while also having such an isolated scene. The isolation in this movie, I think, is what makes it so important because you're dealing with a
Hmm.
larger than life situation that is actually pretty much held down on just this ranch, while knowing that if they said something, no one else would believe them is what makes it so interesting is because they are trying to just capture an image. They're not even trying to defeat this thing. They just want the Oprah shot as we see throughout. To understand the UFO a little bit better, we also have this parallel with Gordy the ape, which I think confuses a lot of people going into this movie when they watch it on the first time. But with that second viewing, I think it's able to see those parallels a lot better and having those situations be fleshed out with the character of Jupiter and the siblings of OJ and Emerald really made this feel like a grounded movie, which I think is really hard to say about an alien flying saucer that abducts people.
There's a lot of things going on with this movie genre wise, but it never feels too busy, clustered. It never feels like you're getting a diluted version of the genres included, which I think is really impressive. OJ is written in a way that's very similar to like Fistful of Dollars, The Man with No Name, and those old Sergio Leone westerns, like the strong, silent cowboy type who only speaks when he absolutely must. And when he does, it always means something. I can't express enough how this all felt like a love letter to like everything that he consumed growing up.
I'm gonna disagree with that first part you were saying. For me, I did feel like it was a little cluster, and I felt
Mm-hmm.
a bit confused for
Mm-hmm.
for a good bit of time. Like when the movie starts, for me, it felt like it was a longer intro for them, but it ends up being really relevant. As you watch the movie and they're explaining the parallels between Gordy and the ship itself, and how their predators, even going with the not looking them at the eyes, you kind of treat them the same way. But to me, those scenes, the first two or three times they show it, I was just confused on why it was relevant. I felt like I was missing something every time they came up, and it takes it until the end of the movie for me to really understand why those scenes were relevant. To watch a movie like that, like a Jordan Peele film, and it's going to be a twist somewhere, and there's going to be a catch, and then so you're thinking like, oh, they're showing this
Mm-hmm.
monkey scene, they're showing the monkey scene, but why are they showing the monkey scene? And it takes it until the end for me to really understand and why it was so relevant.
I see exactly what Corey's saying. It's like Jordan Peele's conditioned us to kind of think this way with the way his other films have been made.
Yeah.
Especially with us, the first shot is on the bunny's eye, and it slowly pans out to all the other bunnies, and you're waiting to see how that ties in. Whereas Gordy doesn't necessarily specifically tie into anything with the UFO, but it does have the metaphors and the symbolism that does tie into it. So you have to put more of like a thematic thinking cap rather than a actual literal tie-in.
I see what you're saying because you're almost waiting for the callback. You're almost waiting for it to like tie in
Hmm.
together somehow. Where this was just more so like it was like allegorical almost, where it's just kind of showing it happen side by side. Now that makes sense to me.
Especially with the shoe, you're like, what supernatural shit is happening here with the shoe floating? They haven't gotten into the possible shot yet. They haven't even gotten to the bad miracle quote yet. So you're
Yeah.
like, is that the UFO? Is aliens like? I thought aliens were going to end up being chimps throughout the whole movie. I was waiting for that.
When you go back and watch it again, all the Gordy things make sense, and I think you can appreciate them more. Or it did for me. Something that I took from this movie is like maybe Peel isn't actually trying to tell us anything directly more so than evoke a certain kind of emotion. When you see the standing shoe, you're filled with that feeling of, well, that's not right. That shouldn't be happening. Something weird's going on. I feel like a big thing of this movie for me was more so not reading into what's being said directly on page or on screen, and more so how does it make you feel? I mean, they're trying to take a picture of a UFO to get rich. There's no deeper level to it than that.
If I could change anything about this movie to make it a little more digestible. So it starts off with that quote, I will cast abominable filth at you, make you vile, and make you a spectacle. And then it immediately cuts to Gordy on the set doing his thing, right? I almost wish that he didn't start the film with Gordy and you just kept that as Jupe's flashbacks. I think it would be much easier to see the similarities between Gordy and the UFO if you showed Gordy when they were going through the museum, or even when they started to explain it before Jupe's first show. It's like discombobulating the viewers when they see the chimpanzee and there's no prior knowledge of that chimpanzee, of the trailers or anything like that, and you're trying to put that connection together because it is a Jordan film. And I think that's where people are kind of going into this a little confused, where they're like, what's the shoe? What's the chimp? And Jordan's like, it's not even about them, pimp. You need to focus on what's happening in the right now. It immediately sets the tone for these aren't your normal, super intelligent little green men alien. This is a animal. Don't look too much into the chimp. Just know the chimp and the UFO synonymous with each other.
We're able to use our imaginations to fill in a lot of blanks for how the UFO reacts to things and how territorial it can be.
And that's like classic horror stuff, right? Like you don't see Jaws for a very long time. You see glimpses, little peaks and stuff like that, because what you create in your head is so specific to you and what you find scary. You couldn't write something scarier than what you yourself come up with in your own head that would terrify you. And I'm so glad it wasn't the little green men, because when you make like the little green men, that almost implies that they are like something to be like understood or reasoned with or communicated with. They have their own interest. There is no rhyme or reason to what it's doing beyond it can. It just can, because that's what it does. And trying to treat it like it's anything else than that, I mean, we saw what happened.
When the UFO is floating above the house with Angel and Emerald inside, gave me very strong T-Rex vibes from Jurassic Park, where it's just like, you have a beast, you're in a fuck situation, there's no way you're getting out of it. And if it wants to fuck you up, it absolutely can, but because it can't see you, it's not fucking you up. It can hear you, it knows you're there or it wouldn't be there.
Lack of a goal for the UFO was like the best part for me.
And the alien wouldn't be as interesting of a character if we didn't have Daniel Kaluuya and Keke Palmer out here just strutting their acting chops. At first, I didn't like Kiki's character. And over the course of the movie, you know, OJ's our boy, but I was like, I'm up there with Keke too. Like the sibling dynamic and their relationship really has you feeling for them by the end of the movie.
It's just they had so much chemistry that you bought into it, you believed it. Keke Palmer's like vibrant firecracker kind of energy was like in such great contrast with like the stoic, soft-spoken, very serious. It felt like a real brother and sister thing in the way that they're opposites, yet still get on the way that they do.
To get into scoring this thing, I would say I like this more than Us, but not more than Get Out. I'm hitting it with a solid 9 out of 10. Definitely worth rewatching in theaters, an absolute must to watch in theaters as soon as possible. You want to watch this with a big crowd and a big audience. I don't think you'll regret going in there and hearing all of the reactions to some of this insane imagery and scenes that you'll see.
Coming fresh out of the theater, still a little confused and cluster-minded about it, still giving it that same, just watch the movie thought process. I gave it a lower score. After talking to y'all about it and, seeing some stuff online, I'm going to go with about an 8.5. Really good movie. I still feel like there may have been some things that I missed, but it's probably going to make more sense when I go through and watch it the second time.
I'm going to go with a 9 out of 10. I put it above Us, not better than Get Out. I definitely think, I agree with what Corey said, where it's like you need to watch it twice, or at the very least, give it a little time to digest.
Please let us know what you guys thought of Nope. It's a very divisive film right now, but we'd love to discuss it with you in the comments. And if you're new to the Dork Side, go ahead and subscribe because you want to join that next-gen console giveaway, and you don't want to miss any of our future discussions on future movies. And I think we have an analysis video coming out with a lot deeper details about why Nope is great and why you should see it. And maybe if you're a little confused on it, we'll clear some things up for you. Until the next time, guys. Peace. Think it's able to see those parallels a lot better. Maybe.
Nah.
Yeah.
Nah.
Hang on.
Nah.
But that
Hang
shit
on.
like opened. It didn't like
See,
gradually
we're
open. It
getting the
said
real theme of the movie right now, which is nope. We got to get the fuck out. We got to dip. That's the point. You see shit like that, and you're like, nah, I'm good.